Hello, hello. How are you doing, Toya?
I am wonderful, Hannah. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Feeling well rested after our global week of rest. If anyone hasn't caught on yet, it's just going to be Toya and I today, as Casey right now is on her week of rest. But Toya and I took our week of rest last week. And overall, we just wanted to, while we're building and growing this community of Black women entrepreneurs and the leaders of the world, we wanted to ensure that our priorities and culture is one that's not a burnout. And so, really
Absolutely.
prioritizing a week of rest annually for us to just be refueled, bond with our loved ones, family, friends, and just have some time to relax. But with that, Toya, how do you spend your week of rest?
How Casey says, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. So after the Blaze Virtual Summit, which we'll get into later, I immediately transitioned into my final event for my company, Greenville Boudoir. So after all of that, then I got to experience our global week of rest, which was so timely. I think the richness of the previous week from the summit and even my event, everything was so good and it was so nourishing. The community, the support, the love, like everything just felt really good. But even coming down from that requires a lot of rest, and a lot of time for reflection as well. It can be overwhelming in the best of ways. And so my week of rest was just that. Like, I rested. My son also had his 11th birthday.
Oh yeah,
So we
happy birthday.
celebrated. Thank you. We celebrated him. But other than that, it was a lot of reading, a lot of sitting on the couch, a lot of spending time outside. It's just very beautiful, stuff that I want to incorporate more into my daily routine anyway. But having that week dedicated just for rest allowed me to see like where I can do that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Similar to you, I also spent some time outside, in nature. So right now I live in London, so a lot of buildings, crowds, city life. But I'm a southern country girl at heart, so I was just
Yes.
fiending to just be around some grass, trees. I want to see some cows, some deer. And so my friends actually they came from the US and they visited me, and we took a weekend trip to the countryside of England. And oh my goodness, there was nothing there, but it was the best time of just reflection, dreaming, being honest about, sometimes life can life sometimes, but
It really can.
really appreciating where we are in life, for the highs, for the lows, reflecting on how far we've come, and just kind of having that time to bond with friends, as I'm oftentimes thousands of miles away from, people that I've known for longer than a few months. And so that was really that's what made my global week of rest. And yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we're starting and we're building this company with that culture and that sense of self-prioritization at the forefront. Um, but with that, you touched on a little bit of your event, a little bit of just getting stuff together. And so I wanted to home in. I was going to talk about the summit after this, but that'll be after, just highlighting your new revelation of coming into your position at Blaze. And so how do
Yeah.
you feel wrapping up what was the beginning of your entrepreneurship journey, starting what is going to be a successful and thrilling part two
Yes.
of this journey? How do you feel? What are some lessons? Just spill on.
Okay. So this is the first official week of Blaze, and I thank myself for not like waiting to get acclimated into our company culture and getting grounded into like what we are here to do, our messaging, our products, our services, like all those sort of things. I was I'm so glad that I gave myself the time to pace myself up to this starting point, because this week I've had to do a few things. I've had to adjust my morning routine. My daughter loves her slow mornings, and I love that for her. But when mommy has that first meeting at 10 a.m., girl, you need to be out the house by 9 so I can get back here and get ready. You know what I'm saying? So it's been an adjustment for the whole entire family. We just got a puppy. So like all those things I have to consider. So it's always making sure that I take care of myself and take care of my family before I dive into my day. So the first practical thing has been just adjusting my schedule and making sure I take care of my priorities before I come sit down and start working on Blaze. But the sort of more high level, how I'm feeling about starting this position full time is just excitement. There's a lot of things that are being in the startup world. There are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of things that change. We've seen it this week with technology. We've got Spill, which is a new social app, who came to rise due to a lot of things that were going on with Twitter, and then Meta just announced Threads. I think it was yesterday or something. Like, there's so many things that can happen at a moment's notice. And so, especially being as the head of product and technology here at Blaze, like I'm also having to be keen on what's happening in the industry and staying abreast to what those trends are, what the news is, what's happening that may affect our audience as Black women, seeing where the attention is going, because all these things are important for what we're doing and what we're building here. Not to say that we are distracted by all of these things, but they are factors. So this is a very dynamic role, and I think it's perfect for me because I am a very dynamic individual, and I get to see so many different parts of this big puzzle, which is essentially us creating and cultivating this decolonized ecosystem for Black women entrepreneurs to succeed, not only in business but just in life, in fulfilling their purpose and their missions, which is what Blaze is all about. So, in a nutshell, this week has been exhilarating and just also flexible. I'm not maintaining like too rigid of a schedule either, just because I know things can change. And the beauty of being a part of a company that honors you as an individual is that you can fine tune that as you see fit. So yeah, that's how my first week is going so far.
Period. I loved it. And even as we're building here at Blaze an ecosystem for Black women to be supported, seen, and thrive, what lessons have you learned in your previous experiences as an entrepreneur that, whether it's failing forward or through success, you're bringing to the table today now as co-founder, head of product and technology at Blaze, to help other women kind of reach that position and that mentality that you have today?
Yeah, so since the beginning, Hannah, every time that I have needed to express myself through my business ventures or through skills or services that I wanted to put out into the world, there has always been a community aspect. And so that being like how I started and where I am right now is not a coincidence. I think that is just divine, that community is central to everything that I do. And so because of that, what I have learned through this journey of entrepreneurship and centering myself among communities is that you always have to be a listener. You have to be a keen listener. Sometimes we have these great ideas and we think we know that these are the solutions that people need. And we work hard at like making them nice and then putting ourselves out there by putting our products and services out there. And sometimes, our feelings get hurt when it's not received in the way that we typically would like it to feel, to our ego, right? And so throughout this journey, I have learned that the way that you win in this game is you got to listen to the people. You got to like hear them. You have to tell their stories in order to connect with them. They're not coming to you because you have a solution. They're coming to you because you see them, you hear them, you know their stories. And because of that, the solutions that you create are tailor-made for them. And so that's literally what my role is right now as head of product and technology, is to make the right size and right fit solutions for our audience. And I can only do that if I listen. That's through, reviewing our state of Black business owned reports and the data that comes from that. That is doing our community roundtables for the Blaze Group app, which are coming up soon. And, even just going back through the testimonials that we received from the summit, because those are very powerful and have a lot of key information about why Blaze is the place to be versus, more traditional, more standard leadership type communities and groups. And so I just feel like as long as I keep my ear to the ground and stay open to the lessons that can be learned, I do all right. I think I do all right.
More than all right. What I'm hearing is that there's not a set place that you can reach and settle. It's an ongoing journey process, and it takes engaging and listening constantly, because things are going to evolve. Things are going to change day in, day out by the second. Did you already get your Threads account? If not, I'm on. But to that point, yeah, community is everything. You mentioned a little bit about, insights from the State of Black Women-Owned Businesses report, roundtables coming up, but let's just take some time to reflect on the summit, because even you were stating about how it's important to listen in order to see the insights necessary to produce an effective product for your consumer. There were just so many sessions, specifically one about like experience design that touches on that within the summit that really blew my mind personally. I mean, but just to shout a few people, I wrote down, everyone did absolutely amazing, but there were some that just touched me to the core. Lawanda and Black Liberation, Lawanda Swan, and she opened up the summit with her. It was a movement. I mean, I don't want to sum it down to a speech, but the beginning of a movement of how we are part of a global reset.
Global reset, yes.
Ooh, I can't even give it justice on this podcast. Just know you can get, reruns up to 3 months. Just look into the website for more details about that. But yeah, she got me going, motivated at the beginning of the summit. This was day one. Then we had 5 days. And again, Andrea Long with experience design. We had multiple brand sessions from both Erica and Taylor Burris. But then we would kick it off with a little yoga, a little DJ in between. And we would cut up no matter what session it was. We would cut up in the chat, y'all. If you missed the chat, you got to come back next year. But we were cutting up through and through. But what was your favorite experience moment? What stood out to you?
I mean, there were so many moments, but I will say, like, as a general, like, if I could, it was a chat. Like, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter what session we were in. The chat was always popping, and the chat is literally where our culture just thrives. Like, I took so many gems and lessons from the chat. Just for myself and my own role, that I'm like, oh, okay, I see. Like, this is how I move. This is how I move. Like Beyonce said, like, this is how we move. Like, we commune, we converse. Like, we love to fellowship with one another. Like, it doesn't matter what we're talking about, we are going to fellowship, and that is what makes it so rich. But I will say, one of a proud moment too is there was a workshop that we had, and it was about moms and entrepreneurship. And it was unfortunate that the speaker was unable to come on to do the Q&A. And then Raven, who's a part of the Blaze team, she was able to step in, and she brought down the house, like just organically, like not planned, no script, but she just who she is and her essence and her just her journey, just being transparent about her journey as a mom who is, very, very talented, and still also trying to find the right harmony of the flexibility with how, you do your work, with wanting to be present in your kids' lives, but also wanting to have that time for yourself as a mom. Like the way she was able to communicate that, like on the fly, and just, it resonated with so many people, and including myself, because I'm a mom too. But I love just the way that how dynamic and resilient we are. Like even at the moment's notice, when you got to step in to to support your sis who for whatever reason couldn't join at the time, and it was still powerful, and it was still beautiful, and it was still moving. So I just love our ingenuity, man. I just love how resilient we are. I love how fly we are, how like our words just move through us and just move through other people with so much intensity and impact. The summit is where it's at. Like if you missed it, I'm sorry for you, but hopefully you got in on those hopefully you got in on those replays, because they're so good.
Yeah, so good. Shout out to Priscilla. She kept our Instagram as updated as possible, but it's just not the same as being there. You have to be there.
You had to be there.
Yeah, you had to be there. And special shout out to Air Me for the gifts, the gifs. It wouldn't have been the same without it, because that made the house go down as well. And even to your point of the summit and what we're doing with Blaze, it's more than just business insights. It's genuinely about shifting lifestyles, like livelihoods. And it starts with the mindset. I think that's also a key point. Casey not here, but she wrapped up our summit. First of all, this is for everybody, because Casey's not on, so I can tell her, I didn't know Casey could like that.
What? Oh yeah, Casey can blow.
Nobody told me. Y'all, I wish you could have seen my reaction, but woo! Yeah, it was just powerful to where really boggling down. This isn't just about business. This is about your livelihood, and it all starts with you. No matter what's going on, what systems are in place, it all starts with you and your mentality. You have the power to make or break what's going on, how you respond, how do you react, how you engage. And it was powerful. It was powerful to hear. But even to your point of Raven stepping in for our sister who couldn't get on to the Q&A, there was a moment in a session where one of our amazing speakers, after the session, just had a lot going on, was overwhelmed. And I think that was an also important moment that I'll always take away from the summit, of being supportive and having a community that will support you 100%. Us seeing that she was overwhelmed, Casey seeing that she was overwhelmed. She wasn't on the stage for a long time. She stepped down, but then the chat went crazy when it came to support, uplifting words, and just affirmation that you don't owe us anything else, sis. The session slapped. And we see that you're going through some things. We are here for you. If you need anything, let us know. But take time for yourself. And I thought that was just a beautiful, natural moment that wasn't planned, of really how this community, how this culture is set up to be, and how it is going to continue to be as we continue to grow. So that was a natural moment that wasn't planned, that I think I'll take away from the summit. But yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of knowing Casey a while ago when we were in college. And I remember she was a part of this gospel group. And sometimes they would come into our dorm room and they'd be singing and stuff. Like, those are some good times. So yeah, like if you have not heard Casey sing, like you were in for a treat. But yeah, like and I think that also goes to show, like, she's always been like this. Like, she's always been about bringing people together and seeing them for who they really are. And Casey also has ingrained that into Blaze in a very natural way. Like, the flowers that people were giving her throughout the summit were so deserving, because the tears that were coming up through the summit were tears of like joy and release. It's like, oh man, like finally I found my people. Like finally somebody sees like how much I've been putting into this and the things that I've had to sacrifice to get here that nobody ever will know about. And we don't even have to know the specifics of that, but just the feeling and the energy of like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And not only just within this community, but this is where I'm supposed to be in my life right now. Like the lessons that I'm learning right here, right now. I'm supposed to be here. We all have to grow through some things to get where we want to go. And doing so with the backing of an incredibly supportive community who's not only just focused on like what you can produce in your bottom line, but like how aligned you are to your purpose and to like the values and the goals that you have in your own life. Like, that's special. That is very special.
It's special. So, yeah. And it was felt by, because you would have the OGs in the chat and at the summit that could be seen, but it was particularly special for those individuals who would come up on stage or text in the chat. I don't even know how I got the information for the summit. Like, I don't know, maybe it was an Instagram, maybe it was LinkedIn, but I just decided to click on it. Regardless of how I got it, I'm so glad that I came, and I can tell I was meant to be here. And so just seeing Casey receive her flowers from even individuals who that was their first introduction to Blaze, and tell it just as much as an OG of, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. Catch us next year, man. Bigger and better.
Yes. It's going to be lit.
Yes. So much in store. But that is it for this episode. For all of the Black women entrepreneurs out there, if you haven't, please download the Blaze Group app, as that is where our community thrives 365 days a year. Through messaging, resources, events, anything and everything is connected to that app. But also for Fractional C-Suite services, we do provide that as well, as Casey is code in finance, Toya in operations, and me in strategy. But with that, we'll see you next time. Love y'all.
Peace.